Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, another question that I've seen on the Marella Cruises groups is what excursions are recommended to do on a specific itinerary. Now, I can't answer that question 100% because I've not done loads of excursions in the sense of round the Canary Islands particularly. A lot of the excursions I've done have been round Croatia, Italy, Greece, Spain, Portugal, Turkey, etc., and around the Balearic Islands. So any excursions that you want to do, then the simple thing is go on the Marella Cruise Control Hub, type in your booking reference, the lead passenger surname, and put the date of your departure. And some excursions may not be available, as it depends on when your itinerary is. So if your cruise isn't till August, which somebody did put a comment on, you're not going to get your excursions on there till at least May, maybe April, May time. If you've got a cruise coming up in February, March, April, then usually around now you should be able to access your excursions. Some places they might not be available till a lot closer to the time, and you usually as well have a set date when you can book them up to. But a lot of them do book very early, particularly Rome and particularly Athens. So if you're going to those ports in Italy and Greece, if you go to Civitavecchia, for example, which is for Rome, you are going to find that a lot of the trips are going to book up very quickly, particularly if there's trips to the Vatican City, which you can do. There's also the Colosseum in Rome, that's also booked up very quickly. So if you don't book it before your cruise starts, in other words, you pre-book it on the hub, you're going to find that when you're on the ship and you want to do it, you aren't going to be able to. So unless they get a cancellation, you're probably not going to have much chance of getting on those trips. So that's why it's best to go on the hub and book the trips long before your cruise is due to start, because then in that way you're guaranteed a space, and at least you'll have the peace of mind that your ticket will be in your room on your arrival in your cabin. And of course you can check on the Marella Cruise on the Navigate app on your phones. If you download the app on the ship using the ship's Wi-Fi, it won't cost you, and you can only use the app on the ship anyway. So you can check all your bookings on there, because it usually asks you to put what cabin number you are in, and it will come up with all your bookings, which includes restaurants. But obviously you won't get tickets for restaurants, but you should get your booking details on there. And then you can obviously go and enjoy your food in that restaurant. But regarding excursions, I can recommend quite a few excursions, especially if you're doing the itineraries around Greece. Because if you go to Athens on your cruise, definitely pay a visit to the Acropolis. Yes, it's a lot of steps, and it can be very hot, particularly if you're going in the summer months, so probably not a wise thing to do then. But around May, June, it's reasonable. April, May, June, it's all right. Once you go into July and August, that's when it can be unbearable. September, October, it's all right as well. So definitely do a trip to the Acropolis. You can do Athens on your own. But again, if you do anything independently, make sure you're back at the ship on time for sail out. If you're docking in Livorno, I would recommend a trip to Florence and Pisa. So you go to Florence in the morning, and you basically do a bit of a walking tour with the guide, and then obviously you get a bit of a time to yourself. So you can go there, and obviously you go to Pisa in the afternoon. You don't go in the actual Leaning Tower on that trip, but you can do a separate trip to the Tower of Pisa. If you just go to Pisa on its own, you can do the Leaning Tower, or just pay to go in separate. But again, that gets very popular. And there's obviously a lot of market stalls that you can walk past before you get to the square where the tower is. So that's always an interesting trip. There's also a trip to Lucca when you go from Livorno. So that's down in the Tuscany area of Italy. So that's a trip my mum and dad did, and they enjoyed that. So if you go to Livorno, do Florence and Pisa definitely. If the ship docks in Naples, visit Sorrento, visit Capri, or you can do Pompeii and Herculaneum. They're other good trips, so do those as well. When I went there, I did Pompeii and the Amalfi Coast, so I did both. So I did Pompeii in the morning, Amalfi Coast in the afternoon. But the thing is, you won't get enough time to look round all of Pompeii if you do that, because it's a massive place and you need a full day, if not 2 days, to explore both Pompeii and Herculaneum as well. So it's very rushed. So I'd just bear that one in mind. If you're doing cruises around Turkey, and you dock in Kusadasi, visit Ephesus. 100% go there. If you want to just walk around Kusadasi, you can. You've got the Bird Island, you can walk around, and obviously the town's about a 15-minute walk. Make sure you're back in time if you go off on your own. But Ephesus, definitely do an excursion there. If you do a trip to Rhodes, you can usually do a trip across to Bodrum in Turkey. Again, if you do it independently, make sure you're back in time for sail out. But if the ship offers the trip, then do that. I did a trip to Lindos and the Acropolis when we were docked in Rhodes on my cruise on Marella Dream back in 2019. So that was nice, going to Lindos. It's a bit further down the coast, but it was nice. And there was a mini Acropolis, and you got a fantastic view over part of the island of Rhodes. So there's that one. If you go to Corfu, go to Pallia Kastritsa and the caves. Do a boat trip to the caves. I did that. If you want to go into Corfu town, you can get the hop-on bus, which is just outside the port, because it's a good half-hour walk to the town, so bear that in mind. If you go to Santorini, the ship normally docks in the sea, and you have to get a tender in. So again, the tender boats run back and forth all day, as long as the ship's anchored, so there'll be a set time when it's going to leave. So again, make sure you're back in time when the last tender is. Make sure you get that. And obviously you can go up to Thyra, which is at the top. You can either go up on a donkey or you can go up on the cable car. I would recommend the cable car, because you get a lovely panoramic view of Santorini and also the other island behind where the ship docks as well. That's worth doing. If you go to Mykonos, again, you can get a public bus, or they can put on, I think a lot of the cruise ships put on a shuttle bus, which you can get from the port down to Mykonos town. So that's another one. If you go to Crete, if you dock in Heraklion, you can do a hop-on bus there, or you can just go into the town. If you dock at Agios Nikolaos, the other side, again, the town's quite near. And I think when I last went there, there was a land train that took you out of Agios Nikolaos, out into the countryside, and you got to do a bit of wine tasting, and then obviously they took you back. So again, that left you plenty of time to look round. So that's another idea. Obviously, if you go to Cyprus, and Limassol, you could do a Tombs of the Kings trip at Paphos. But any other trips, it's probably going to be too far. If you've got friends on Cyprus, then it's always a good idea to perhaps go to Nicosia, or go to the Troodos Mountains, or go to Famagusta, or go to Ayia Napa, or over that end. Visit the Turkish quarter of Cyprus. So again, there's lots of trips that you can do. If you go to Alanya in Turkey, another one that I did was Aspendos and Perge in Turkey. That's basically like Ephesus, an amphitheatre. So we did that one. But again, Alanya's quite walkable from the ship. There's a little castle nearby where the ship docks. You can pay to go in there and explore around there. But again, do things on your own. Make sure you're back in time for sail out. There's loads of trips you can do. If you dock in Corsica, we did a panoramic trip when we went there. Again, you can go to Ajaccio, which is the capital. Again, they may put on a shuttle for you to get down to the town. Or if you want to book an Uber or a taxi, that's up to you. So there's that option. If you go to Monaco, which we've done, again, it's quite a walk from the ship to the town, but we did that and enjoyed it. It's very expensive. If you go to Toulon in the south of France, you can do a trip to Cassis, which is just down the road. That was a nice little French fishing village. That was nice down there. Or you can just walk around Toulon, which is literally walkable from the ship, or you can get the land train. It'll take you to a beach or some shops. So there's loads of places you can go. Barcelona, you can do the Sagrada Familia. You can do a panoramic Barcelona. If you go to Valencia, you can explore that. If you go to Malaga, you can visit the castle nearby and go into Malaga city. If you go to Gibraltar, you can do a trip up to the rock, where the monkeys are, the macaques, and you can also do the botanical gardens there as well. So there's loads of places to visit. Trust me, Lisbon, you can visit that. It's walkable to the city. So I hope this has given you some idea of some of the trips that you can do. If you dock in the Balearics like Mallorca, you can do the caves of Drac, or you can just go into Palma, get the Solar train, which takes you to the other side of the island. If you go to Menorca, you can do a trip to Fornells, or you can do Mahon, the main town, and go and explore the old town of Mahon. If you go to Ibiza, you can visit the old town of Ibiza, or you can do a trip up to the other end of the island. So there's plenty of places to visit, believe me. So I hope this has given you some idea of some of the excursions you can do. And they are my personal recommendations, because I've done those trips. If you ever do get to go to Israel, at the moment it's a bit dodgy, I know, but if you go to Israel anytime on a cruise, do Jerusalem and Bethlehem, do Nazareth and Galilee, because the ship's normally docked overnight. You can do a trip to Jordan from there, Petra, Jordan. You can do the Nazareth and Galilee trip. You can do Jerusalem and Bethlehem. You can do Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. So I've done all those, and they are well worth it. You can even do trips around Haifa, which is where let me have a look on this map where it is. Mount Carmel, that's it. Because you don't have to be religious to do these trips, but it's always nice if you are religious. It brings the Bible to life. So it's always nice to do that and see the lands where Jesus walked, etc. It's always interesting to do those trips. And the Nazareth and Galilee one is fantastic, because you get to go to the Jordan River where Jesus got baptized. You get to go to Capernaum. You get to go where he did his Sermon on the Mount. Honestly, it is a fantastic trip, and it's fantastic countryside. Well worth doing. And obviously Jerusalem and Bethlehem is fantastic as well. You go to the Garden of Gethsemane, you go to Temple Mount. I've done trips to those, and I've put there are some videos on my channel of those trips, so check out my playlist. It's on the Marella Dream playlist, so please check that out. But these are my personal recommendations. So any trips, I hope that's covered everywhere. Obviously if you go on a trip to Venice, obviously you can do the gondolas, obviously, and walk around Venice, because the ship won't dock in Venice anymore. It docks at Trieste, and you have to get a coach round because they won't let cruise ships in. Again, that's the Venetians, but that's it. But you can still do a trip to Venice from Trieste, so do that. Obviously Dubrovnik, you can do the city walls. If you go to Split, you can visit the waterfalls of Kirka, or you can just walk to the old town. If you go to Zadar, you can go to the Sea Organ, and you get a bus from the ship to the old town of Zadar. It's quite a walk. And any other places you dock. Rijeka, I don't really like Rijeka, the port of Rijeka in Croatia, but you can do trips from there if you go on your Marella Cruise Control hub. Obviously, if you go to Kotor, you can visit Kotor town. You can obviously go to the cable car. There's loads of places you can visit. If you go to Bar, you can do a trip to Bodva. So there's loads of places that you can visit, believe me. So if you go to Korčula, you can obviously do a trip on the island of Korčula, or Hvar, whichever one of the Croatian islands the ship goes to. So whichever itinerary you're doing, those are the trips I would recommend, and I've done them. I've done quite a lot of excursions on those itineraries. So obviously I'm going from Tenerife to Cyprus on this cruise, so I've got Malta booked, and I've used the Marella Cruise Control Hub to book it, and obviously I've got Corallar booked as well. So again, I hope this has helped you in your choice of excursions, my recommendations. So please take a look at the channel at CoralSmith25, and I'm sure you will see some of the videos I've done from cruises I've been on, as well as, other cruises I've done on other ships. So take a look at that. I hope this has helped. So please subscribe at CoralSmith25, and I will see you guys in the next video.